I'm cool letting all of that go. Like,
yeah, fair enough.
you know, like the number of people that are like, oh man, these guys are just farming for clicks or whatever. Like talking about band content. It's like, no, that's just what everybody in the world is talking about when it comes to like it's the thing that's happening. So we're just talking about the current event happening. We're not farming for clicks.
But now it goes. I'm keeping up with the Joneses.
Hey, I just want to give a quick shout out to all of our Patreon supporters out there. Thank you to the Dirtle Maniacs. If you want to be a Dirtle Maniac, go to patreon.com/eternaldurtles and help support the channel. It keeps things going. It keeps things updated. Thanks so much for watching. On with the show. All right, so we've got our takes on the ban announcement. It came out this morning. It is now 10 o'clock for us. So Phil's been on the road. We have the episode with Max as well, where Max talks to us about his reaction. But this is just Phil and I kind of riffing, doing our extra dirt. This will be our extra dirtles for the week. So you'll kind of get like our unfiltered take on, what we thought about the ban restricted announcement. So Phil, how do you want to start this off?
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm just gonna jump right in. I am so excited to finally be able to play Sensei's Divining Top again. It is out. It is released. We are in it. We are back in it.
Yeah. Sensei's Divining Top somehow unbanned. I must have misread.
Honestly, that's the one way you could get me to be an Eldrazi gamer, because 2 tops with Fleshraker is just game over.
Phil, funny thing I should mention today in the comment section of, I think, Reddit today, when I posted the talking head video I did about the state of the channel and stuff, and somebody commented, I will pay you guys $500 to get Phil onto NYSC if he never talks about banning days ever again. I was like, I don't think we can make that promise.
Yeah. I mean, I'm cool letting all of that go. Like,
yeah, fair enough.
Like the number of people that are like, oh man, these guys are just farming for clicks or whatever. Like talking about band content. It's like, no, that's just what everybody in the world is talking about when it comes to like it's the thing that's happening. So we're just talking about the current event happening. We're not farming for clicks. Like, you guys are going to watch us or you're not.
I'm farming for clicks.
Yeah, but like we're not
rage baiting everybody.
But we're not like choosing the ban list as opposed to like another topic. Like it's not like it's not like there's an opportunity cost of another topic that is that we're like, oh no, but we'll get more clicks doing the ban stuff. No, we're doing the ban stuff because that's what we're talking about.
Talk about the last 2 days of the format, or we could talk about bans.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like,
it's ridiculous.
We could talk about the lame duck situation we're in, or we could talk about what it's going to look like after the fact.
Yeah. Finding the right high-end cards for legacy, vintage, pre-modern, or old-school Magic can be challenging. That's where our friends 3-for-1 Trading come in.
3-for-1 Trading is one of Europe's top Magic the Gathering retailers with an incredible selection of premium singles, sealed product, and even full sets, all available with free, fast, and secure worldwide shipping.
They add fresh inventory every Wednesday with weekly deals and discounts. So whether you're hunting for that elusive piece of power, a legacy staple, or something spicy for your collection, they've got you covered.
First high-end orders over $500 or €500, use the code EDFREE to get free worldwide shipping.
Check them out now at the number 3, the number 4, the number 1.gg/ED. That link takes you right to the shop and helps support the channel.
Huge thanks to 3-for-1 Trading for supporting the legacy community. Now back to the show.
Bearing the lead here, Sowing Megaspawn and Troll of Khazad Doom are banned, right? We can just talk about that for a second. We can lay in that filth for just a moment and note that those were the only changes for Legacy. I did correctly, I don't know if you saw in the predictions section, I did correctly this morning say, I think that will be what happened. So I got it right. I'm not happy about that. Like, I would have rather been wrong and a lot more stuff changed, but here we are.
Yeah, I think that the way that they decided to navigate doing this is okay. Yeah, I mean, Sowing Megaspawn, that was a layup. Like that, like in their announcement where they talk, like I hate when they like explain to us what a card does, as though they weren't the ones that designed it.
How about the deck list? So like, here's what the deck looks like.
I mean, I like including a deck list because at least then we know what we have an example of what they're referring to. That's like a segment of information I do like. It's just so weird when they're like, Sowing Megaspawn does it all in the context of colorless Eldrazi. It can grab late game cards like Eye of Ugin and some interactive lands like Blaststone and Crocus, but most frequently it's grabbing copies of Wasteland to exacerbate the strength of its land exiling effect. It's like, that's literally what you guys designed it to do. Like, the problem that you're explaining is literally just what the card does from how you made it. Like, I get that they don't test for Legacy, but like, if they could say that,
could it be more obvious? Yes.
The thing that, like, when we get to it, after we're going to talk about how, you got it. Well, then we'll talk about the troll or whatever. But, like, the thing that I want to talk about at the end of, like, the part that, okay, ban troll, okay, ban Sowing Michael Spawn. I have an issue. I don't think troll was the correct call, but I do think Sowing Michael Spawn obviously is the easiest layup of all time. Right at the end of what they wrote, they said, Blood Moon, Stompy, and Oopsal spells are prime examples of decks that have seen their meta share rise in past few months with the density of Moto double-face lands in Modern Horizon 3, both currently within bounds of play weights and win rates that have been historically acceptable. And that is so broad and that tells us nothing. Historically acceptable means from what date to what date, both within the bounds of play rates. What do you believe to be unacceptable? What is acceptable? Like, there's all these broad terms where the more I read, the more, and this is every single ban announcement that they do every time. They say things, and then those things that they say just don't mean anything.
Dodge and weave. You can't be nailed down on numbers, Phil.
Dude, literally
have to stick to them.
Every sentence that they write for these things, I always go, okay, but what does that mean?
Yeah.
Every sentence, what does that mean?
Let's talk about those sentences, Phil. I want to read the ban restriction announcement. Almost, I don't want to stop every sentence, but there are going to be some sentences I'm going to need to stop, right? So let's just start, right? By the numbers, the Legacy of today does a good job of emulating a balanced format. What does emulate mean, Phil?
This is the first sentence just tells you right away that they don't have an editor.
What does the word emulate mean?
I'm an editor by trade. That's what I do for my day-to-day paycheck, and they don't have an editor. Like, that's what the first sentence.
I'm not even worried about that. I'm just like,
no. You want to know why it's important?
Start off by saying the word emulating. Emulating means it's faking being a balanced format. Legacy is faking being a balanced format.
Yeah, I think that's
what that sentence means.
There is the acceptance that there's a lot of busted shit in Legacy to begin with, so it's never going to be balanced. But I think that there is this first sentence alone, like, by the numbers. Okay, what are they? By the number, I want them to say, by the numbers that we looked at from this date to this date, we calibrated that this is, like give us some sense of any of the literally the first sentence. I go, what does it mean?
You want concrete, and they're giving you beach sand.
Yeah.
Hey, Legacy fans, since you're enjoying the show, please like and subscribe to the video. It helps the channel grow.
Support Eternal Turtles on Patreon so we can create even more content and cover events.
Patreons get an ad-free RSS feed, 4 bonus episodes a month, and Discord recognition. Join the Dirtle Maniacs at patreon.com/eternaldurtles.
Now back to the show.
Yeah. So going from there, the most played deck, Dimir Reanimator, isn't taking too large of a piece of the pie, and the next handful of decks consistently showing up aren't doing so at clips that are wildly out of bounds. The issue is that despite having several different decks, the format's slower macro archetypes like mid-range and control have largely been pushed out of the metagame as environmental pressures have wildly condensed games. Furthermore, player sentiment and event attendance has trended downwards. It's apparent to us that people who love to play Legacy do not love to play today's Legacy. So we're taking a couple steps to try and improve that. So there's a little bit to unpack there. One of them being, like, did you really help mid-range decks that much? Like, did you help control decks that much? Like, sure, getting rid of Mycospawn helps a little bit, but we're still living in a hell where Entomb Atraxa is going to be the deck that gets played, right?
Yeah, I was going to say the odds of saying we want to help granted, Mycospawn is its whole thing, right? Like, Mycospawn, of course. I feel like Mycospawn is just exceedingly uninteresting because, one-sided Armageddon turns out is too good. Like, Crop Rot plus Armageddon, too good. But for them to go, okay, we're trying to help the control and mid-range macro types, and then immediately after that, talk about why Troll of Khazad-dûm is banned. And, like, Troll of Khazad-dûm is not the card that the control and mid-range decks have an issue with.
Like, we love that card. I pray that you reanimate a Troll of Khazad-dûm.
It's the one card that they can reanimate in the deck that doesn't generate them value.
Yeah.
The idea that, like, we were trying to solve the wildly condensed games, and they went to not any of the cards that effectively end the game on the spot as the target of choice to try and, like, soften the tempo-y part of the deck. No, the tempo-y part of the deck is where control and mid-range can battle.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's keep going.
So let's keep going. We got a deck list, just a random deck list before anything else happens of Dimir Reanimator. And it's like, Troll of Khazad-dûm has been a big part of Legacy for almost 2 years, with some form of Dimir Reanimator being the strongest deck in the format since approximately the release of The Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. It has an extremely unique impact on deck building, allowing players to fill their decks with cards like Reanimate and Animate Dead without having to play a bunch of big creatures that might otherwise be dead cards in their hand, or playing as many discard cards as possible to get rid of big creatures into their graveyard. This subversion of opportunity costs has meant that Reanimator has been exceptional, playing a fair game while threatening an intensely unfair game for the better part of 2 years now.
No, now here's what I want to talk. This is the part of that intrigues me the most about that section thus far. Is they're talking about it as though, like, they're talking about it the way that we, the gamers, talk about it. Like, they can be a fair deck and then present as an exceptionally unfair deck. And I go, you guys are the fucking designers. What do you can't talk about decks as fair decks and unfair decks. You cannot explain yourself as the designers as fair and unfair if you're not going to specify what fair and unfair mean. You cannot do it. It is just a non-starter from the jump. You are failing communications if you are talking about fair and unfair decks for the game that you design as though you're just another one. Look, you and I, like, we all have different understandings of what we believe fair and unfair to be. Yeah, okay, cool. We all understand that oops all spells or whatever might be unfair. But, like, where on the spectrum does fair and unfair work for, the Dimir Reanimator deck? Right? Like, is it just like the unfair parts? Is the Entomb Atraxa, or is Entomb Troll also unfair? Like, where are we talking about? That's what I mean. Every single sentence. Again, we say this every episode for when we talk about bans. What do you mean? I just want you to have
Phil,
clarity in your language. I just want to understand what you're talking about.
I want to invoke a Philism here. And Phil, I'm just going to ask you to reread that paragraph, but change Troll of Khazad-dûm to Entomb.
Entomb has been a big part of Legacy for almost since 2009, with some form of Dimir Reanimator being the strongest deck in the format since approximately the release of Entomb. It has been an extremely unique impact on deck building, allowing players to fill their deck with cards like Reanimate and Animate Dead without having to play a bunch of big creatures that might otherwise be dead cards in their hand, or play as many discard cards as possible to get big creatures into the graveyard. Now, before we even talk about the fact that, it all makes sense if you just interchange literally anything. When they, like, who you guys designed the game? Why are you saying discard cards? Like, they're not discard cards. They are enablers. They're discard. They're spells. Discard spells. If you're gonna just use, I just hate, like, the thing that, like, I'm not tilted about their choices here. I could care, like, whatever they want to ban, unban. Like, we're gonna play Legacy and we're gonna figure it out. It's all well and good. The problem I have is you guys need to communicate to us as the designers of the game. Like, if I can't parse your language to understand what the fuck you're talking about, then how do I know at all of what's going on in your thought process about anything? You could just take what literally we did in our last video and regurgitate it, and that this would have given you what it is. Like, there's no additional, like, here's what our language means, here's our thought process, here's like the understanding beyond, like, yeah, it's been a top deck and it's sort of tempo-y, unfair-y, sort of whatever. We don't know. Come on, guys. This is just lazy shit. It's lazy.
All right. We believe that the Reanimator strategy is a core part of what makes Legacy and makes Legacy feel like Legacy and is fun to have in the format. I wholeheartedly disagree with this sentence. There's nothing interesting about you putting a big creature onto the board that draws you a full grip afterwards and ends the game. Like, that's what's happening. You're playing 2 cards that end the game, and that's not fun or interesting. I refuse to take that sentence seriously. Anyhow, moving on.
At least we know that one thing says that whatever the minority of the player base is that enjoys just comboing off before your opponent gets to take any game actions whatsoever, that the designers are also in that camp of minority. We're happy to design the game that we hope most of the players just don't get to play.
Yeah. All right. We've learned that the deck is more fun and less frustrating to play against when it must be a more committal synergy deck that isn't afforded the luxury of straddling the line between tempo-y, aggro-y deck, and combo deck. For that reason, Troll of Khazad-dûm banned. Look, man, that's still, like, if anything, getting rid of Troll of Khazad-dûm does nothing to fix that problem. I get there's already been a list that won a league that is playing Oliphant. I'm sure that you can use that Sphinx that people were looking at. There's a couple other cards that people, Sidewinder or something like that. There's Generous Ent. All of these are cards that can be slotted into it. And yeah, I guess they're going to be a little weaker to Wasteland. Let's continue. Let's continue before I lose my mind on this so that we can get to the Eldrazi part. On the side of speed of the format, Eldrazi and other colorless strategies have been prevalent in Legacy since they got a boost from Modern Horizons 3 last summer. Generally speaking, these decks...
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but if we're going sentence by sentence here, I just want to say, when they say colorless strategies have been prevalent in Legacy since they got the boost of Modern Horizons 3, colorless decks have been prevalent in the format since they got the boost of Ancient Tomb and literally any card with a pip.
Yeah. Well, those aren't colorless decks. They have pips. Eternal Durdles is proud to be sponsored by Moxfield. Moxfield is the best Magic the Gathering deck building website on the internet. You can create, share, and find decks from Commander to Legacy and even fan-supported formats like Pre-Modern and Old School. You can see all of our decks on our Moxfield. Follow the links below to stay tuned.
It's like, it turns out the colorless strategy is just, getting to skip the first two turns of the... all right, whatever.
Generally speaking, these decks have presented the issue of completely sidestepping the rules of engagement in the format, making them extremely hard to interact with. It's not sidestepping. It is ignoring the rules of engagement. Like, I know this is semantic, but you're not sidestepping the game when you're like, oh, I'll play this 3/3 that double Stone Rains. You can't counter it.
You want to know, like, what would be really helpful in these spots? Because what is really frustrating about, like, every one of these bands, it's the Tim Robinson sketch where Watsy just puts on the hot dog suit and says, "We're trying to find
out whose car this is."
It's every single time they do it because they're like, oh yeah, like, these decks have presented the issue of completely sidestepping the rules of engagement in the format. It's like, okay, please, Watsy, can you tell us what the rules of engagement are? What does that mean? What does it mean? Also, sidestepping the rules of engagement since they got the cards from Modern Horizon 3. I wonder who put the cards in that set. I wonder who designed those cards. Like, you want to know what would be helpful here? If you're going to say these things, while also being the people that designed those things, to say,
we'll be looking at this and trying not to make this mistake again.
You want to know what would be really helpful for us is to go, our intent of designing this card and not having it say non-basic land or not having a plethora of other adjustments that could have been made to it in development. Our intent for this card was in Modern to do blah, blah, blah. Now, we understand that intent is totally surpassed in Legacy because of tools that Modern does not have access to. Now, we may be able to figure that out as people with minds and warm blood, right? But, like, it would be really nice if the people who are doing this and saying this just said that. Like, let us know that you aren't oblivious to the fact that you are calling out problems of your making. I get that might be implicit, but the way that this speaks, it just absolves all responsibility of themselves and places it on the card. Every single time they do these announcements, it's always passive language and blames the card.
You want to know what it is? It's the other meme. It's the one with the guy shooting the other guy in the chair, and he's like, "Why would Troll of Casa Doom do this to Legacy?"
It's that. It's like if you ever see a headline where it's like bullet kills 3 people or whatever, it's like, I wonder, like, maybe that's passive language. It puts the blame on the bullet and not the person who shot the gun, right? It's the same thing. Like, if you're putting the blame on the card, it's putting the blame on the card and not the thing that you guys did, which is design it. Right. Yeah. And if you guys could just take responsibility for that, give us your intent so we understand, like, where your logic was in coming around. Because when these cards are printed, it's not shocking that all of a sudden one-sided Armageddon is going to be too much. Like, yeah, maybe strip mine's a bad idea.
So let's skip over to the sewing Mycospawn of it all here. Underneath this paragraph in the deck list, sewing Mycospawn does it all in the context of colorless Eldrazi. It can grab late game cards like Eye of Ugin and some interactive lands like Blaststone or Krakus, but most frequently, it's grabbing copies of Wasteland to exacerbate the strength of its land exiling effect. That land exiling effect can notably target basic lands, which is a class of card that is more fun when it's reliable out to other land hating cards in the format like Wasteland and Bloodmoon.
Yeah. So if you guys know that, if you're like, yes, we know this.
Stop designing cards with basics.
Then don't do it. That you right? Like, if it's like, you want to notice,
bad.
there's the lack of responsibility of like like this card that we designed is also a mistake. This way that they did with Nadu, right? Like now Nadu was a mistake, and then nobody was dunking on the fact. Like everybody was like, yeah, good, you take ownership of that mistake. The thing that then people were dunking on is it's a Modern Horizon set meant for Modern, and then they were like, yeah, we designed this card for Commander, then broke every constructed format, and then also banned it from this format that it was actually designed for.
Too.
So it's like, okay, so we banned it from what it was designed for, but now the remnants of our mistake just happen to fuck up everything else too, unless we take action against it, in which case we're not doing that in Legacy. Because
I think somebody was super into Hermes Trismegistus, and they just like went absolutely apeshit on creating Nadu. I think somebody was super into Emerald Tablets and esotericism, and they went all the way in.
I want to jump into the final thing here, which is in the coming weeks, this whole foreshadow or cliffhang of like what we're gonna do that is entirely unmeasurable with no follow-up whatsoever.
You feel like an abuse, like I feel like an abuse victim here. It's like we just keep coming back.
Like here's the thing. In the coming weeks, we'll be keeping an eye on the prevalence and win rates of various all-in combo decks and fast mana decks that bubbled to the surface of Legacy. Blood Moon Stompy and Oops All Spells are prime examples, blah, blah, blah. Okay, can we go back like 4 ban announcements ago where you were like, yeah, we're keeping an eye on Orcish Bowmaster and whatever, and get a follow-up on where your heads are at?
Just a follow-up, yeah.
You know, like
just
last
one
time,
a year, one follow-up a year. Just come back to all of them.
If you guys are saying like if the next ban announcement comes around and look, the format is shaken up a little bit or whatever, and like it's emulating a balanced format or whatever the fuck and unexplained whatever metrics that they're using, and then they come around and they just don't reference any of this stuff and talk about whatever else is like the current thing after watching our video for 5 minutes and then figuring out what you're gonna write for your ban announcement. Like it's just like it's just like is it lazy? Like,
do you think we had a direct effect on the ban announcement, Phil, this time?
I don't think that they're I disagree with like what they should, like what they've done versus what they should have done. Of course, I disagree, but like okay, at least they're listening to some extent. Banning Microspawn, good, right? They could have easily not and just hid behind
just been like,
fake
the numbers
or whatever.
Yeah.
And then for Troll of Khazad-dûm, they could have been like, we think that Reanimator is more fun to have in the format than not. So even if things are going, we expect, some shakeups coming in the near future to make the thing, and then see what happens afterwards. And just kick the can,
like,
right?
We're gonna unban Deathrite Shamans. That'll show them.
They could have easily done any of the kick the can shenanigans, and it would have been absolutely par for the course. But I don't care that if they do what I think is correct or what I feel like the majority of people think would be better for in terms of their ban choices or unbanned choices. What I do care about every time that they miss, every time that they never learn, they never ever learn, is they never correct their like how they communicate and what their language means every single time. It's the thing that we dunk on, and it's just like it's next time a ban announcement rolls around, like, no hope. There's not going to be hope. We're just going to go. This is what they're going to give us. They're going to give us some, unspecific nonsense that doesn't tell us anything about what they're thinking or how they're making their decisions.
You're talking about no hope in the language. They could get the choices completely correct. You just don't.
But like at the same time, if they get the choices correct and still don't communicate why they made those choices, then it's still the same.
Yeah, because we can expect those mistakes later on.
I don't care if you fumble into the right, you can accidentally take the correct line and win the game.
Yeah, a broken if you don't know if you twice a day.
Yeah, if you don't know why you took that line and this results oriented thinking your way through it, like that's not helpful going forward, right? Like it's just like I don't know. Like I'm not upset with any of the choices that they made in this announcement. I'm just upset that they aren't learning. Call an editor. Just literally have anybody read this and then ask any questions about it at all.
Yeah. So Phil, we've ranted here a bit, right? But I'm
ranting one more thing. You can't put a hyphen and a Y at the end of a nuanced whatever archetype. Literally, the meme is what is tempo, and you can't put combo-y, tempo-y, and expect us to believe that you know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah, I do agree.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. Fucking embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
So, we've ranted here a little bit. We've thrown some salt out there, but I do want to say, I am optimistic about the format going forward. Now, do I think that we're in a perfect position as players of this game? I don't, but I do think that we're in a much healthier position than we were a day ago. You know,
Are we?
Yeah, we don't have Micah Spawn. If nothing else changed and they
I
got
guess
rid
that's
of
true,
Micah
yeah.
Spawn, I would be happy.
Yeah, yeah,
like
that's true.
I would at least be like, things are improving, right?
Yeah, it's a step in the right direction at the very
so
least. Yeah.
They're look. My question, honestly, this is an honest question. How many other cards have to die for Entombed Sins before they go? Yeah, the problem's been Entombed the entire time. That's my biggest takeaway from this, is that they don't understand that Entomb has been the problem the entire time. They could have said it with Grief. They could have said it with Frog. You know, every time they ban something from this show, it's like, guys.
Well, it would be nice if when they say we think Reanimator is fun and a good part of the format, like if they could explicitly state we think Entombing for the card that effectively ends the game on the spot, like a Traxor or Grizzlebrand, is fun and engaging gameplay, and we want to support that. Like,
Yeah.
if they could say that the thing that tilts people, which is not actually getting to play at all because the game is over before you have any relevant agency, if they could just say that, if they could voice that, then at least, even if we think they're wrong, we know where they stand.
It is
specifically like we understand that what they're saying is actually what they're saying. We don't have to like try and figure out what they're talking about.
It is wild that they're just like, yeah, Blood Moon Stomping and Oops Spells are prime examples of decks that have seen their meta share rise, but I guess that's fine. Like, they just like mention these decks and they're like, both are currently within bounds of play rates and win rates. It's like, didn't you up above here say that player sentiment and attendance has trended downwards? Do you think that's from decks like Oops All Spells or no?
I think that the part where they say it's like,
come on,
the line where they say, which were in the first paragraph, where they say people who love to play Legacy do not love to play today's Legacy. To not understand, I mean, tell me if you're listening to this, get in the comments, hit us up on Discord if you disagree. I think that the Legacy that people don't like to play is the Legacy where they literally don't get to play.
Yeah, that's the worst kind of Legacy. All right, we're gonna have more discussion with Max in just a few moments. If you are watching this, definitely watch Max's episode with us on YouTube. If you have come here from YouTube, hey, welcome. Thanks for supporting us on Patreon. And we will catch you soon again shortly. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to this channel and do your part to help sustain the Legacy content ecosystem. Just subscribing to this channel goes a long way to reminding YouTube that people love and support this format. Now, if you really want to go the extra mile, you should think about supporting us through Patreon. Both the links for subscription and Patreon are right here. And if you're listening on an audio format, you can go to patreon.com/eternaldurdles. Thanks so much for watching.